Welcome to Divine Truth, my series speaking with others around the world as they tell their stories of pre-birth memories and near-death out-of-body experiences. Prepare to be amazed and inspired as I explore their true, incredible journeys. Hello everyone, welcome to Divine Truth, my new series about pre-birth memories. I like to call it illness to awakening processes, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, soul contracts, and so much more. Today, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Amy Martin, and I just want to say, Amy, I am so grateful that you accepted to be on my show today and tell your beautiful story. So, Amy, if we can go ahead and begin, I would love to hear some about your background so the viewers can learn some about you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. And thank you, Michelle, for having me, because right now there is a lot of awakening going on. And this is a really important topic for people that are watching, that are still going through that process, or just there's a lot of uncertainties. And so those of us that have kind of gone through our awakening, and it still happens, still is going on, it's great to be able to share with those, those new people, if you will. So I was a public school teacher for about 30 years. And I would say probably a couple months before I was, or not a couple months, a couple years before I was getting ready to retire, Spirit kept nudging me in the sense that it was time for me to leave. But it was really hard to give up the security, that in the providing for my family. So every beginning of the school year, I have to say a disaster hits. And it was weird because I'm like, and so consequently, I wasn't able to start the school year that I typically would be able to do. I had a death in the family. Actually, there was a couple of them. My husband got blood clots in his lungs. So I had jury duty and they wouldn't let me out of it. So every year I couldn't start the beginning of the school year. And it started to feel weird because I'm thinking for 2 or 3 years, like, what is going on? What messages I'm getting? And I wasn't really fully awakened then, but it just felt like it was something divine that kept happening that was kind of keeping me from starting traditionally the school year. Well, then the year that I had my awakening, the summer that I had my awakening, it started at kind of the beginning of the year. Same thing. I started to have a health crisis, got through the year, but by the end of the year, wasn't able to finish the school year out. And so that's when it was kind of like, okay, something is going on here. And I knew that when I was having the health crisis, I did not have a near-death experience, but I don't think everybody has to. I think you can just have a health crisis. And like I was saying to Michelle before we jumped on, you have to have a shakeup. You have to have something that shakes you up, that you go, what is going on? And it really takes you down to your core beliefs, like, I have to change my life. Because if I don't change my life, not sure the life will be there, kind of thing. So I didn't actually have the near-death experience, but I knew that I had to go through this experience. And then when I went through this experience, then it was like everything kind of just broke open. So I was petrified. I was terrified. I had to go through all kinds of tests, all kinds of surgeries and stuff. And I'm a big one where I didn't like the thought of going through surgery because they put you under. And then I don't know. I don't have no control over it. I'm a control freak. No, don't do that. So I had to really dig in deep into my heart and into my faith and say, what is it? I have to do this. I have to do this. I have no choice. But when I realized I didn't have to do it alone, that was the greatest thing. That's when spirit stepped in, when I called. And, I believed in God and that kind of thing, but it was deeper than that. It was just so much deeper than that. And spirit came in and the fear lifted. Now, sure, there was nervousness and stuff, but the fear lifted. But then they took me through the process of, how did you get to this point? So not only did they have to shake me up to awaken, then they went, now let's go back and let's look at what from your past experiences that you've had and things that have happened that brought you to this point. So I also had to do all this healing of my past and for people and all this stuff to be able to, again, free up. I almost want to say free up that space to allow, spirit to come in. And so I did a lot of that. People will call it inner work or, shadow work. I didn't have anybody to tell me what I was doing. I just was led and I just did it because when they told me to do it, I did it. That's how deep the connection, the faith was. You're going to tell me to do this, I'm going to do this. And they led me through all of it. And it's a never ending process. Like I was telling Michelle that this awakening process is like 1,000 epiphanies. Like you keep getting these little insights and these little nuggets and these little awakenings. And it happens all the time, but it's so powerful and so joyful when you get these things. And I don't want to keep talking, so I'm just letting you talk now.
Oh no, I mean this is beautiful. I want to intervene just a moment and tell you that since you've been speaking, I told you I felt chills right before we came on. Since you started speaking when we did come on live, I have had chills right against my neck and down my back. So this is definitely something beautiful for humanity to hear, and I'm so grateful. I know that God is within this, completely.
Yeah.
And I would like to go back to what you were talking about. So you said you had to go through that process of forgiveness and healing and all that within. And see, I went through that as well. I was like you. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that, okay, like you, I had to have faith. And, and it was this thing of, a lot of people call it the dark night of the soul too. I remember that's at the point when I remember those that I thought I had forgiven for years. I realized I hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't truly forgiven. I pushed it to the side and swept it under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just, that I'm so glad that you brought that point up, because that is something truly that happens and it's beautiful. I cried for a week and a half during that. That part wasn't fun.
Mm-mm.
But when it was completed, it was like you said, that left that space for all kinds of beauty to come in.
Yeah.
That the room wasn't there before.
That's right. It wasn't exactly. It did need to go out, and you felt lighter. And the experiences that came through, things that I hadn't thought about in years. Like I had a miscarriage a long time ago and hadn't really thought about it, because it had been years ago, right? And I felt the soul of that baby come into me. And then, I know I got chills, sorry. That was the most beautiful thing. And then he moved on. And then about a month later, my daughter said, I'm pregnant. And I really feel that soul went through. I'm sorry, I got chills.
Oh. Don't apologize. I have them too. Don't apologize.
I really, but I knew that it was a boy, and it was just the experience that I didn't have, that I never held, and it was like, oh my gosh, that was my son. And then he went off, and so powerfully healing. But I didn't have the space for that before. I had put that back and way back in and way in the back. And it came to the front because it needed to.
Yes.
And wow, that was just an amazing experience. It was those kind of things that said, whatever this is, I want more of it.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know?
it's really scary because you don't know what's going on. You can't explain it to people. Well, I mean, you can try but when you don't really understand what's happening, at that time, all I could say was, um, I'm seeing extraterrestrials, and all these different things, and it really does at some point when so many people say, "Well, you're crazy."
Hmm.
It makes you want to not speak out.
Yeah.
It makes you afraid to say anything,
Mhm.
which is one big reason why we're doing this, right? We're
Exactly.
giving
We
people.
were all there. All of us were there at one point.
Yes, yes,
And not only people telling you crazy, you start to tell yourself that on occasion. You go,
true.
okay, this sounds completely crazy,
Yeah.
but that is exactly why we're doing this, because when you can you find that tribe, you find those like-minded people, you can tell me anything. And I'd just be like, yeah, that's a great experience. And that's when, you're like, wow, that's very freeing. But people, when you're first coming out, and especially your hardest critics, sometimes are your family,
Yeah.
and so it's really hard for people. They feel very isolated and alone. So that's why this is so important.
And that is a really good point because I remember when you and Kitty had me on Intuition of the Soul.
Mhm.
I hadn't come out long publicly, with all of this. And so, it was scary for me, but at the same time, um, I think what helped me being on your show was the fact that Intuition of the Soul, you had to join it. You literally had to
Yeah.
join and, to
Mhm.
be able to be on there to see it. So I knew it wasn't like it was public, but not public.
Right.
And that gave me a little safety net there,
Mhm.
until I gained more courage as
Mhm.
the process went along. But,
Yeah.
it is scary when,
Yeah.
not having a mentor or not
Mhm.
living near or knowing anyone that's going through any of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's just such an important point, that we have to be mentors for each other. We have to support each other. But I'm telling you, and if you are starting out there and you're watching and you're nervous and you're having some of these awakening things and you're like, "Oh, I've had some really amazing experiences," and that kind of stuff, know that you will get to a point where you just stand in your truth,
Yes.
where you just step into it and you say, for lack of a better word, the heck with you. If you don't like it, if you don't accept me for who I am, this is a big part of me. You will get to that point. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
like it at first.
Right.
You want to kind of just, but I remember telling my brother, because we kind of got into an argument about something unrelated. And I said to him, "You don't even know me," because I hadn't told him any of this stuff. I hadn't told him that, I was a medium, and I, channeled, and I worked with my guides, and I can see other people's guides. And I never told him any of that. So when I started telling him, it was kind of like, yeah, and he's very uh, religious, and so it was just kind of like, this
Yeah.
kind of thing. But after I did that, it was so freeing. It was so freeing. But I'm not saying I did that the first month, second month, first year, even probably the second year or the third year, because you don't have to,
Mhm.
um, until you're ready. But I do think that it's important that you find a tribe, or you find people that you can discuss these things with. Really helps.
Oh my goodness, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me check and see. It looks like we've got some comments on here. Hello, Amy, Michelle. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Sue. Oh, Stephanie said, wow, love this and feeling it with you, Amy.
Oh,
Oh, how sweet.
Nice.
And we also have Kitty said you really start to dismiss things until you find people who listen. That's true. And and then Kitty said safe places to meet to share are so important. And that is, oh my goodness, I do absolutely agree. That is a very, very good point, Kitty. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Amy, the memories that you had, the pre-birth memories, I would love to hear about those.
Okay. Well, and sometimes they come in meditation. Like when I think about past lives, they'll come in meditation, and it's not that I'm meditating on it. They just come to me, and they'll show me something. I'm very clairvoyant. But the funny thing of it is I would see more initially when I started to awaken. I would see more with my physical eyes. I could literally see spirits and see things like that. Now I see it in my third eye as well. But I know, and this was funny because I'm going to share this story with Kitty. It was Kitty and I. I was babysitting my grandson, and my granddaughter wasn't born yet, but she was around because she's a little spitfire. And I was telling Kitty, a bottle just flew across the counter.
Oh.
And she's like, what? And I'm like, and it was a bottle for my grandson. I said, it just flew across the counter. And I was talking to Kitty at the time. And I tried to recreate it, and there was no wind, and there's no way that this bottle flew across the counter. But then we started talking, and it was like we realized that both of us had a lifetime share, and we were wizards. And we were in this beautiful ornate building, and it started, and maybe Kitty can help me this too as I'm getting my memory, but we started talking about how we were apprentices for the other wizard, but both her and I were. But something happened at that time, and it's when they started to separate the spiritual from the scientific, where they started to separate. So something couldn't be both spiritual and scientific. It was either science or spiritual. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it was like when it started separating, and there was destruction of the building that we were in. I don't know if it was a fire, whatever, but every memory that I have, past life memory, you're gonna laugh, but I say to Kitty, every memory I was and every memory I was killed for. And what I realized about this is every memory, when I thought back about them, I was killed, but I was killed because of my powers or my gifts.
Uh-huh.
And so that made a lot of sense to me when I thought about how long it took me to come into that, to have that awakening.
Yes.
Because there was that from my past. Every time, every past life memory that I have, I was killed for being too, in their mind, too powerful, or having a gift that wasn't accepted or something.
Uh-huh.
So that was one of them. But that was funny because Kitty and I were both in there, and we were both killed. Sorry, Kitty. Fire. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
There was the fire. Gosh, that hit me, but I wasn't sure. And we both perished in that because we were studying something that wasn't acceptable,
Right.
at that time, because we were about the spiritual, and they started to say, no, we science can't prove that.
Mhm.
And but what's really awesome right now? We were just talking about this before we come on. How even NASA is saying, "Oh yeah, you've seen a UFO." They're like this. What was the number of that?
Yeah, right.
Even the science people are going into some more. You know what I mean? And it's
Yes.
like, wow, that's kind of a big circle, especially
Yeah.
for when I think about how it was so separated when Kitty and I were in there.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, wait a minute, we're not having to have that separation, which is so beautiful.
It is freeing.
And it's freeing. And another past life memory was that I was a assistant to like someone back in the Egyptian time, and they were very important. I don't know exactly who it was, but they were like royalty, like a queen type thing. And but I was the assistant in that she used me for my psychic and mediumship abilities. You know,
Oh,
that's what she
wow.
wanted to know. I was like her personal, you know, I was her 1-800 psychic, you know, kind of thing. And so she used me for that. But then when I started to question, why am I just using this or giving you this information and not sharing it with other people? That's when that didn't go so well. Because that was like, no, you are to serve me, and I felt more that I wanted to serve more, and so that was another time. I just
Oh,
laugh about that because that's how kidding we do that,
yeah.
but yeah, so I look at those past memories and I see that, how is a part of that, not all of that, but how is a part of that playing out now? And what can I learn from that? And why is that being brought to my awareness?
Right.
If it wasn't something that I really needed to know, not sure I would know it, And
Very
that's how
good
I see
point.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, you know how you were talking about you and Kitty had been burnt in a fire. Well, I kind of had a past life memory kind of similar, um, but I remember that. Well, first off, let me start by saying in this lifetime, all my life I've had a tremendous fear of fire and didn't know why, because
Oh.
I have not been through any type of house fire, anything like that
Mhm.
myself. So there was honestly no reason for me to have such a fear of fire. And then once I had that pre-birth memory, after uh, my waiting process, um, it was like, oh my gosh, that made so much sense. I remember seeing myself, um, and all I could see was like, when you look down, you naturally see the front, what you're wearing.
Mhm.
And so I remember I had on like this druid. It was a white. I'm always in white. I don't know why. I always, but it was like a druid type
That.
robe. And but I remember that they the it was like I was in this little community, little bitty tiny community with huts, like kind of like little huts or
Mhm.
houses. And I remember that um, I had to stay hidden because I was trying to help people,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
because of with the abilities, and I wasn't. It was like I wasn't allowed to do that. It was wrong to them.
Mm.
And they accused me of being a witch, and they burned me at the stake. I remember that in little bits and pieces, little increments.
Sure. Mhm.
And but it all made sense now. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's why I have. I mean, my husband, he would even. It got so bad at one point that he was like, "Honey, you've got to stop. You've already checked the stove 3 times.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
off. The coffee
Yeah.
pot is unplugged. I mean, I was just. It
Mhm.
was a constant fear."
Yeah.
And once I could remember what had happened, I began slowly being able to release that. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that's old. That's old life. That's
It
not
is.
here.
It
So
is.
yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is just it. I do believe that, as you said, that we're allowed to remember certain memories that are going to help us or have meaning in this lifetime. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just incredible, an incredible way to think of it, Amy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. Like your point, your story was so spot on that that past life was still here. And, there's still little pieces. Well, think about it. We're souls, they never die. So you are going to carry those things. We don't always remember everything, but those little pieces come to us for that insight, for that awareness and that awakening part. So sometimes it's funny because people that are in their awakening stage, they might think, that was just a dream or that kind of thing. So if they can start shifting that and thinking about that, no, wait a minute, let's go a little deeper into that, maybe that was, a past life snippet, if you will, that kind of comes in and gives you some guidance on that.
Absolutely.
And to awaken and to question. And if you are, for people that watch this later, I see the list of some of the people here. These guys are pretty much awakened, but some of those people that are new to it and stuff like that, question everything. Question it, I mean, like, oh, could that have been a past life memory thing that I just had? Or was it a dream? Ask your guides, meditate on it, do those kind of things, be curious.
Yes.
There's so much out there and everybody has a different experience. But what you can do is when you hear other people, and that's what I love about intuition of the soul, everybody that comes on has a different awakening process and they have a different way of leading their lives through spirit. Everybody has a different way. Their journey, I guess, are all so different. And anytime anybody comes on, I always get little nuggets from them like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or, hey, that makes sense now. So, like be like a sponge and go and experience things and question things, but make sure they're reputable. Just Google and get, the first person that's on there.
Right.
Some are truly, there to help you through the awakening process. Some are there more for monetary reasons, maybe. Some of them are. Some of them just are not truthful. So use discernment.
Yes.
But definitely it's worth seeing how everybody else works. I think it gives you almost a sense of strength about how your experience is when you hear other people,
Yeah. And something I would like to add, when you were speaking about, researching things, also, be wary of anyone that says that they have all the answers.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I asked when I really started to begin the awakening process, because I kept getting fed baby steps, and I was told by spirit baby steps that and it would be information that would benefit my purpose. That was it, things that I needed to know and that humanity needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
But that our brains cannot handle knowing all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see gurus and I'm not trying to put anyone down. I'm just saying be careful.
Yes.
Anyone out there that sees this.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen others during research who claim to have all the answers, and that's something that I personally try to stay away from. I don't know that I can trust that. So like Amy said, use your intuition and your discernment with everything.
Yeah, very, very good point. Someone that has all the answers or someone that says there's only one way to do it. Because we know just from being in this community that everybody's experience is different. So there's no just one way.
Right.
To do this kind of thing. But I don't know, that might just be, my nature to be like, I want to watch all these people. But like you said, make sure they're reputable and use your discernment. There's sometimes I'll start to see someone think this sounds really great, start watching, and they're like, no, just shut it off.
Right.
That kind of thing. But because the people that that are out there to help you. You'll trust your instinct, trust your gut. Definitely your intuition.
Right.
Anybody who has all the answers or has only the one way,
Yes.
only one way to do it. No.
Right. And that's a good point too, because I'm trying to think of how to say this. So if you just think, Amy, all the people that you have came in connection with that have had all these different experiences of the awakening process, all the people, and they were all different, all the people that I have come in contact with, that's just two of us that have come in contact with so many people, and every experience is different. Now, if you add each person that we've come in contact with and every person they've come in contact with who's had these near-death experiences, the list goes on and on. Think of all of the millions of people around the world who everyone has their own story of their awakening.
Yes.
And all different, but all beautiful. Ultimately beautiful. Might not be in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to kind of get over that bridge a little.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. And Kitty said here, that is why safety is so important on IOTS, on intuition of the soul. Yeah, because that really, like we were talking about earlier, that really made me feel safe to just get on there and just, okay, this is how it is.
Yeah. Right. And we don't have a fee or anything like that. We keep it free, but it is, you do have to be invited to, or not invited. You have to ask to join or be invited, either way. But yeah, so we know those people are there for a reason. They're there to, get some experience of what's going on, with their life as well. And so, but I love it. I have, it's funny because my husband just asked me the other day, goes, would you have wanted to go back to the 80s? Now the 80s is when I graduated high school, my husband and I, we didn't know each other at the time. And I said, absolutely not. And he goes, oh, you wouldn't want to go back and do all that? And I said, no, because I like my life so much better.
Yes.
And I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to that. Now, and people, again, that's the same thing. You can have that awakening experience at any time in your life. It comes for some really at any age. And that's not to say that you don't have experiences. But for me, I didn't have the knowledge to know what I was having, that what was happening. So I didn't consider that necessarily as my awakening. I don't necessarily call it the dark night of the soul. That's just my preference. But my awakening, but I had experienced my whole life as a child, as a young child, as a teenager. But I didn't have the words or the knowledge to know what was going on. And it wasn't as available as it is now to just, hell, they didn't even have the internet.
Right.
I couldn't Google anything because it didn't even exist.
Right.
And the only experience that I had with a psychic, and I didn't even go see her, but one of my friends did. And the psychic told her, oh, you're going to die in a car crash when you're 50. And my friend was so distraught about it. I thought, no, I'm never going to see one. And but I mean, we're talking way back in the 80s, so there wasn't that information there. So, it's fun to kind of go back after you have your awakening and go, I did have some experiences, but I just chalked them up to being weird or something happened that's I couldn't explain, or what I really did for coping mechanism was I thought it was normal. I remember the first time I gave a reading to someone who wasn't of the spiritual family, if you will. And they're like, well, this is just, don't you do this? And they're like, no. And they're like, no. And they're like, no, this isn't normal. I mean, not normal. You know what I mean, relatively speaking, but I just made it, I normalized it. saying that everybody has these experiences. So there's nothing different about what I'm going through because everybody has them. And that's just strange to me that it took me so many years to go, everybody doesn't have these experiences. They can,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they don't. I believe everybody can, but some choose not to. Some flat out refuse, don't want to. I think the possibility is there for everyone. But it was weird how I just normalized it. Like, oh, everybody has premonition dreams or psychic abilities or see spirits walking across their yard, but they didn't. But I
Right.
didn't make sense of that until I had the awakening.
And I have a question. Now, I know mine runs in my family, like from my dad and mom. I remember my real mother. She used to also, she would see visions, or she would have dream visions sometimes. And but it was mainly my dad that had most of the paranormal stuff that happened and things like I experienced. And my dad is, he should be watching right now. Hey, Dad. My dad is actually beginning to understand that his abilities are a lot broader and bigger than what he ever knew. And so, I mean, I think that that's so cool. But, you know, it's just amazing to me, because it's like it went back to his mother, my granny, and her mother, you know, so there's like a bloodline that continued through, but not my dad is the baby of 11 children.
Wow.
So there are of a very few of his sisters and brothers that have these abilities, and some of them, of course, deny it.
Yeah.
And some of them have had experiences and still deny it till, you know, we kind of bring it up. Hey, do you remember this time you told us about this? But then, you know, oh, no, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. You know, that's an interesting point because again, I never knew any of that, and it wasn't till I had my awakening that I'm like, my mother was always doing that. She was always telling you things before they happened, or she was always doing, you know, those kind of things, but she was a big denier. Now, my dad, he was, I didn't even know this until, you know, gosh, I was an adult. Like, he was telling me a story about, I have a step family. So, about one of his stepsons that that tried to end his life, you know, and he said he found him in the garage, and he said his brother was there, and so he told his brother, go call 911, you know, get help here. And then he was tending to him, but what he didn't realize till after the fact was the brother that he said to go to 911, go call 911, was actually over in Germany. He had a motorcycle accident and he was in a coma. So he wasn't there, but my dad, in this frantic trying to save, you know, his stepson, saw him and told him, go call 911. And then somebody else came home and that kind of thing. And it was just like, I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he goes, I didn't even realize it at the time, but that was his spirit, but there's no way he could have been there.
Right.
You know? And I'm just like, well, that blows my mind.
Isn't it beautiful though? That
Yes.
so cool.
Yes. And when my dad told me that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then my dad told me another time. And see, I didn't learn any of these things till I was an adult, until I think it might have even been before I had my awakening or shortly after. And I'm like, okay, why didn't you share these things with me? He used to, when he retired, he devoted his life to being of service to others through his Catholic ministry things. And him and my stepmom went to Harlem, New York, which is a very impoverished, place in New York. And they worked in this like building that was for homeless people and people that were drug addicted and stuff. And they would go in there and help him and stuff. And he said to me that they had to carry some guy out because he had overdosed, and they were carrying him out, to bring him to the ambulance. And my dad said, and he looked down and he said, I saw Jesus laying there. That wasn't this man, it was Jesus. And he said, and that was just so affirming to him that everything he was doing, he's like this. I mean, because he's in all of us, right? He's a person too. And it just affirmed to him that, no, this isn't a drug addict that OD'd. This is Jesus laying here on this stretcher that we're carrying out, for the ambulance. So it was like, Dad, why did you tell me these things? So I think there was a little bit of that. There was a lot of denial of it. But I think, sometimes that's true. That what a great point is, if you are doing your awakening, maybe if you have some of those experiences, ask some of your ancestors. You might have a mom or a grandma that's had things that don't talk about them because you don't talk about them, but it's kind of fun because it was like, Dad, you never told me that story, but it was just such a beautiful story that he could see spirit. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't understand. I see spirit, I see spirits. And so it was just, that's really weird because I hadn't thought about that in a while. that just came to me. He saw spirits and I see spirits.
So there's a possibility then it's coming down through the bloodline with you as well. Which it doesn't have to with the awakening process whatsoever, because like we said earlier, I believe as well, we are all born with that ability when we come into this lifetime.
Yeah.
For sure. It's just the choice of, do we want to open these abilities up and experience the true love and beauty of God, or do we want to live in fear and of things that we're being taught that are only partially true? I prefer to see the beautiful bigger picture of who God really is.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I love that, because I think it's when you're ready and when you open up to that there's so many amazing and beautiful things that you can experience, when you want to, when you're ready. But that brings me to the point too that you had said earlier. It doesn't come all at once, because if it did, you'd be laying there going, it doesn't come all at once. Thank goodness it doesn't come all at once. Spirit knows what they're doing, but they will nudge you. And if you fail to answer that call, they will nudge you again, and they will keep nudging you until it's a point where, okay, now we're shaking you, you need to have a shake up. That's the only way I can explain it. You need to kind of be shook up or something like that to realize that. But we talk about getting downloads or getting information in, and sometimes people will go, what are downloads? But that's what it is. It's just new information coming into you. And when I would get a lot of downloads, first I would feel them, I would just sense them and know, but I didn't know what they were for. It always took a day or so then for it to present itself. But I always had a physical reaction to it the next day, and that I'd be really tired, or maybe my stomach was upset or something. But it was like, I felt like my body was trying to catch up to the new energy, to this new information. So I had to acclimate my physical body. Now, it doesn't happen that way for everyone, but for me, it was very physical. I had to acclimate my physical body up to this new energy. Now, it's a little more, it doesn't necessarily come through that way. Now, instead of I feel like a download, I feel like I get more of an upgrade. And so it's like I'm just getting something new to what I've already received, if that makes sense. And so it presents itself as a different way. But initially, when I was going through my awakening, I would get these download sensations. And I just really wasn't always sure what to do with that. But I saw a pattern. Okay, so then the next day I'm going to be tired, maybe not feel well. Then, I know what this is. That's how it played out for me. I don't know how that works for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was getting ready to ask you, but before I do, before I lose my train of thought, with the having to rest, I have went through that before, and that is a really interesting point that you brought up that I believe is so helpful for those who are in the awakening process to understand that how important it is to listen to your body. If you feel like you need to rest. You know, the world things going on are, you know, can really draw us in. And, you know, I mean, I know because I'm there too, you know, it's do this and do this and do this and there's not enough hours in the day a lot of times to try to get everything done. But there's days that when you begin having these downloads and, you know, it's like, okay, I've got all this work piled up on me, or I'm supposed to go do this and do that. And my body's screaming, no, you have to lay down. You have to listen. And sometimes, you know, myself included, because that's one of my purposes, I believe in this lifetime, is overcoming workaholism. And because, you know, I'm a full-fledged Capricorn, and that's all my brain thinks of: work, work, work. Next project, next project, next project, you know. And it's like, so for me, when I would get these downloads, I would be so drained. And it would come to the point that, you know, it's basically like I would be given something by spirit, kind of like an anesthetic to knock me out. Like spiritually knock me out. Like, look, like you were saying, if you're not going to listen, then I'm going to make you listen.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that that's really important for people to listen to their bodies. And then as far as the downloads, now what happens to me as far as downloads, sometimes it'll be like I'm on a spacecraft. And I'll be looking in front of a huge like television screen, and I'll see all kinds of numbers just like doing this, just and it'll be a flash, and it's done, like just so quick. And I'll tell my husband, I just got downloaded. Yeah, that's all I know. But I'm like you now. It switched from being tired when they happen to energetic. I think part of that is just the excitement. Because now that I know and understand what it is, and I'm like, yes, you know. So,
I was just looking to see. Sometimes shove you.
Hello, Sean.
Hi,
Thank
Sean.
you for coming.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think sometimes now it's different because it's the anticipation of excitement of, oh, okay, so something new, because it is a beautiful, exciting thing. Now, that's not to say, and we've said that before, that when you're awakening, sometimes the things that bring you to that point are difficult and tough to get through. So if we can reassure you that you will get through them, and the beauty is on the other side, and think about making the space. You're getting rid of the stuff that you've been carrying around that has blocked this other new, beautiful information.
Amy, I have to interrupt you again. I'm sorry, but when you said that, I had chills that hit me on my neck and down my spine again. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just so beautiful that when you're saying certain things, it's like confirmation. It's like boom, and it's just beautiful.
Good. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel very passionate about this whole subject, but especially because I'm a teacher, And I feel like I've been a teacher in a lot of lifetimes, that that fear comes from not understanding. And so if we can help people understand some of this stuff, just even on a basic level, that they may let go some of the fear of what's going on, because it's really about not understanding.
Yeah.
And it is, there's so much, and there's so many different ways that that it can be presented to you. Like, everybody's journey is different, everybody's awakening is going to be different. But again, just the importance of having people to talk to, and getting that understanding so that the fear can go away. There's really nothing to be afraid of. It's
No.
beautiful. Spirit is beautiful. These gifts, because if you're using them for the right reason to help people,
Mm-hmm.
they're just beautiful. It's what you're meant to be doing. It's a feeling like you've never had before, even if you've always been in the service industry. It's different, because I've always been a teacher and helping people, but this is different. It's just
Yeah.
it's just I love my life right now.
I do too. It's fulfilling, isn't it?
Yes.
And and I'm like you. I'm a retired nurse, and I knew when I was 3 that I wanted to be a nurse or a pediatrician. I knew that all my life, in which I do believe that I was there on purpose. Uh, what time I was actively playing the role as a nurse,
Mhm.
because there were many times that some of my patients didn't have family members, or they had family members that were far away in
Mhm.
distance. And sometimes I would spend extra time with them and be able to hold their hand while they were passing, and literally be there with them. And I would pray. There's a lot of things. I did get in trouble once at one of the facilities I worked at, because I documented that I did something. I shouldn't have documented it, but I did get a talking to over that, because of legalities, because of different belief systems and stuff.
Oh,
But I did, many times, I would hold their hands, and I would tell them, it's okay. It's okay to go. You don't have to hold on anymore,
mhm.
and tell them how much that, that they're loved. And so I know that during that time in my life, that was what I was supposed to do. And I knew as a child that was part of my purpose.
Mhm. Right.
However, at age 5, I began having those recurring dreams of an elevator crash.
Oh, yeah.
And then in my 30s, I was actually in an elevator. So what I'm saying is, I believe that was also part of my purpose. As
Mhm.
that happens, and then that brings me into a new part of my life now, this new journey.
Mhm.
And the whole process, although it's weird and it's crazy stuff, I'm
Mhm.
like you, Amy, I would not change it. It was very painful. But
Mhm.
now, this I'm living my heart, just like
Mhm.
and I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer. I've never been one to regret anything, because I believe that every experience, everything that happened, good or bad, or if you want to look at it that way, has made me who I am. And it's meant to be. And this is all a part of me. So why would I regret something that made me who I am? Or why would I, hate something, or disdain something that's made me who I am?
Yeah.
All the little pieces. And so yeah, that's how I look at life. I don't live any regrets. There are no regrets. What would I regret?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I'm sure. Hey, so I eat the extra cookie. I don't regret it. It's
Yeah.
gone.
It was great at the
But it's
time,
all
right?
part of who makes you who you are, and there and Sue said freedom, and that's exactly what that is. That's that freedom to take away any of that judgment of your life, of how you lived your life, of your life before and your life now. It's very freeing. You're right, Sue. That's the freedom of just
Yes.
who you are. And that's why I'm saying, for those that are going through that awakening process, trust me, one day you will step into your truth and people won't see you as you really are. And they can't see anything but light and beauty. If
Yes.
you're using this, like Michelle says, to serve humanity, to serve each other, then all they're going to see is this light in this beauty. And if they choose to see anything else, well, that's kind of on them, isn't it? Because what is that one quote, that what people think of you is none of your business?
Yes, exactly. I believe that
I do too.
wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
So, Amy, have you had, like, as far as ascension symptoms, have you had any, like, as far as like being nauseated, headaches, the auras, you were talking about me prior to.
Now, I think mostly I would just have the extreme tiredness, feeling like kind of like when you get woke up and you're still half asleep. That's how it would feel like for me. I'd be very, very groggy, a little bit nauseous. But the other thing that would happen a lot was like the time lapse, the time jumping. I would be here and then I would be, how did I get here? Or what time is it? Like, how can it be 3 hours later? And really literally go, what did I do for the last 3 hours? That kind of thing. Just very strange interaction with time. That happened a lot. And I just said, okay, well, whatever. Because maybe I was doing something important. I don't know.
Yes, it is so
That kind
cool.
of thing. I would just be it almost would feel like you were out of body. Like, because you weren't there. Your body was still going, I'm going to make my coffee now. And you're over here going, where the hell am I?
Right.
But I'm drinking coffee. Yeah, it's hard to explain. But I had a lot of that. That's sometimes what happens when I get a really big ascension thing.
Yeah. See, I would go through those same things. Like, there were times when I was still trying to learn how to control the new or increased abilities that had came in with this awakening. Had no idea. And I would blink and my spirit would just, I would blink and I would be on another planet, or I would be floating out in the universe. And all
Yeah.
beautiful experiences. Or I would be in someone's house, and I would be a ghost for a second, and to them,
Yeah.
and but my physical body was still, like you were saying, was still there.
Yeah.
And
Still going through your normal routine. I got up, I took a shower, and made my coffee. No, I wasn't there.
right. And the thing is, this is really happening. And then trying to explain this to people, and they're looking at you like, oh, she's lost it. She's gone.
Yeah.
No, this is real,
Yeah.
And but it is so fantastic that you brought that up, because, and I really feel like so many people who may get ridiculed over these sorts of experiences, they need to know, hey, this is real. And like you said, we got to use our discernment, because there are mental illnesses,
Mhm.
But however, if there's not a mental illness present and someone is experiencing the awakening process, it's real. That is the most realist thing. I feel like more real than this planet ever.
I know that. And people that we follow, and I know I've had this discussion with Kitty and with Stephanie and them, that there's been a lot of timeline jumping type of things happening. So if you're getting some weird experiences with time, know that's happening right now there in the collective. And that's what happens sometimes too. We all have our own experiences, but sometimes the collective goes through some awakening processes too. And so that's why you get people saying, oh, this person's talking about this person's talking about this, you're talking about this. And you start noticing everybody talking about the same experiences because it's a collective awakening. So if you are noticing some of those timeline things, know that that is happening out there in the collective right now.
Yes, not alone.
Yeah.
Definitely not alone. And and Sue, she's saying, I have been out of my body a lot of late. I am overseas, really far away, and it's wild. Sue, that is awesome. I want to talk to you, Sue. I know we are our friends on online. I want to talk to you more about those. I'd really love to hear about your stories, and if you're willing, I would like to have you on here as well to tell your story publicly.
Yes.
And get the word out to people. So okay, so I'm trying to. I guess the best way to say this is, what was the hardest part for you coming out? Was it family? Was it work? Was it close loved ones? Was it just people in general, or what?
Well, I went right away and found a tribe. That was the first thing I did. So I had that group
That's smart.
to kind of give me, well, that was spirit. Because something popped up on my feed and I said, no, I'm not interested in that. Something popped up on my feed again, same person. It was Michelle Legala from Intuition Circle. She popped up on my feed. I listened to her, went away. She popped up my feed again, went away. Popped up the third time. I said, spirit.
Yeah.
3 times is my sign. What should I do? And they kept saying, sign up. And so I said, no, I got to go take the dog out. And so I walk out and I'm taking my dog out. And I said, if you really want me to sign up for that, show me a feather. Because we do that a lot when we're awakening. We ask for signs. There's nothing wrong with that. But we question a lot. We question a lot more. Is this is what I'm supposed to do? And so I said, show me a feather. So they showed me an itty bitty little feather. I said, nah. That's not it. So I walked a little farther and I just said, no, that's not good enough. I'm questioning it. Again, that poke. So I go a little bit farther and I see another feather. And I'm still kind of like, nah. And then I hear these birds and I thought, in something, it was so hilarious. I'm like, okay, before you hit me with the whole bird, because I just felt like they were going to keep showing me bigger feathers or they were going to have a whole bird come at me.
Yeah.
I got it. Don't hit me with the bird. I'm going to go in and sign up. And I went right in and signed up. And I did that for not quite a year, but I gained so much. She was a great mentor, great teacher. That's where I met Kitty, and things evolved from that point. But I think the hardest part was, and it's going to be different for everyone else, because you might have grown up in a family who, like Michelle said, has had experiences. Maybe they've denied them. Maybe they know a little bit about it, don't want anything to do with them. Know they have them, don't want anything to do with them. And, or you could have, a family that believes in their religion that there's something wrong with it. And unfortunately, that's the kind of family that I'm surrounded by right now, that it's not holy or whatever, for lack of a better word. And I think that's been the hardest part, because they're my family and I want them to know, and I want them to just embrace it with me and know that I'm the same person that I've always been. But now I'm choosing to embrace these beautiful things that I've had forever. I didn't know what to do with them until now. And so that's been the hardest part, because I found a tribe that would just open their arms and and we could share the craziest, wildest stories, and it was beautiful and no judgment whatsoever. You're just like, oh my, I always thought, oh wow, that sounds so cool. When somebody would tell me something that happened to them, that just
Yeah.
amazed me. But when so I had that, and some people have family, but I suggest if you feel like you don't have someone, you got to find a tribe. You got to find someone that's going to look at you different from anyone else, and they're not going to look at you like you're crazy. They're going to look at you like, oh, my sister,
Yeah.
yes, we know this, we've done this, we've been there.
Yeah.
So the hardest part has been just not having that understanding from my family. Now, what I do is sneak a few things in and there and plant a few seeds
Yeah.
so that at the time, and I do believe there will be a time, it will be fully disclosed. But now it's just kind of little pieces and little seedlings I drop to plant the
Yeah.
seeds. Um, kind of like what spirit does with us. Because if I
Right.
come out and tell them all these crazy experiences, yeah, they'd probably be like, yeah, can you get here quick?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think that's been the hardest part.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I can relate as far as the religion. I can relate to that. There are several of my family that have made comments, that it's demonic and just different things. And it is hard and it's hurtful, but at the same time, as you begin to awaken and you begin to realize, wait a minute, there's different frequencies. You begin, learning all these, spirit starts
Mhm.
teaching you, oh, well, there's different frequencies to everyone and everything in this universe. And again, like you were saying, everyone's allowed to have their opinion, but at the same time, realizing that, okay, everyone, if they choose, will wake up in their own timing. We're not all going to wake up at the same time.
Right.
And it's not supposed to be that way. It's meant for us to wake up and allow it when we're ready.
Right.
So, I think that's a really good point. But for those who, have experienced the ridicule or, have experienced the, how do I tell my family or how do I tell my best friend that
Hmm.
doesn't believe in this or believes this is wrong, that this is so beautiful,
Yeah.
you know, because it's I know with the belief system that I grew up in, um, it would be about tricksters, demonic
Yeah. Hmm.
tricksters, and
Hmm.
thinking that what I'm experiencing now would be tricksters tricking me, making me think. But see, the thing is, there's the belief system, though, and I don't want to make this about religion, but
Right.
I'm going to
Hmm.
say, me personally, this is my experience. If I can help someone, um, in the Bible that I grew up in, it even states in there about the Great Awakening
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
in the end days, it says in there, in the end days, God will pour out his spirit upon all humanity. That's not quoted, but
Hmm.
that's what it says,
Hmm.
in Revelation. So it's kind of one of these things. I really think that a lot of it is fear.
Yeah, for
A
sure.
lot of it's fear.
Hmm.
And if they could, like you're saying, if we could just plant the seeds and just let them see that, hey, we're
Yeah.
seeing beauty.
Right.
We're seeing beauty.
Right.
And it's, when there's so much chaos going on, how do you say, Spirit, I'm going to close my eyes, take me somewhere beautiful? And you're taken somewhere beautiful
Yes.
and you see something that you can't see here.
Hmm.
You know, that's the life that I want.
Yeah.
The love
Yeah.
of God, and it's nothing but love.
Right.
So, I just hope that anyone that sees this now or eventually, can, like you were saying, not be offended when other people don't
Hmm.
understand. Just
Right.
try to be compassionate for them,
Yeah.
and live your life.
Yeah. Right.
It's up to each of us to make our own selves happy.
Right. Absolutely. And it reminded me of, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone, because sometimes I feel like if I were to say to some of my family, they'd be like, well, prove it. Like, like it's a trick or something. But you
Yeah.
don't have to do that. If they don't believe you, they don't have to believe you. That's
No.
their right. You take the judgment piece out of it. You
Yeah.
just like, you're entitled to live your life the way you want. And, but yeah, there's, I don't get upset about it. I just go, okay, okay.
Right.
Someday they'll understand,
Right.
and maybe not. Maybe they'll come back again and learn the same lesson over.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's up to them.
I see. She said, hello, Shan. Hi, welcome. Glad to see you on here. Let's see. Kitty said, funny thing, growing up, my friends were hard to have together. Now with all you guys, we would have the party of a century.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yes.
Sean said, all you ladies on here are amazing and have helped me so much grow. Oh, Sean. Oh, bless your heart. Thank you. That's really sweet. But
It
isn't
is
that
very
part of
sweet.
it? Is this part of it, Amy?
What's that?
I said, but isn't that part of this while we're doing this?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see. Kitty said, not even the same lifetime, Sean. It is so beautiful. Oh, bless your heart, Sean. Thank you. Stephanie said, not just fear, but control, power, and greed. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, that is very true.
yeah.
Absolutely believe that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Amy? I mean, Amy, I've loved feeling spirit. All the chills going down my spine.
Oh, I know it. I have loved it too. And like when spirits around me, I get red, I get hot. So I've been noticing, oh gosh, my leg is so red. But that's when I have a lot of spirit around me, that's how I get warm. That's how I get. So
That's awesome.
party of the century. All right. Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun to get, and we'll have to do that. We'll have to do that someday, where we get a bunch of us together, and the energy in the room would probably, blow the roof off the
My gosh.
place where we were at, because you can feel energy anywhere, but you get a big old room full of us beautiful spiritual people, and wow. I don't know what would happen.
The lights would probably flicker and everything with all of us in there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would
all
be
the
fun.
energy.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, you see what Sean said? Sean said, I got so hot when I got on. I noticed, Amy. I love it. Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I get hot when there's a lot of energy, and I'm feeling you guys' energy and Michelle's energy and Spirit's energy, and I just woo, and then I get like a big shot of vitamin B or something, like steroid or something, because then I'm just like, whoo, I get a lot of energy I pick up everybody's energy and bring it in, and but that's all right. I love that.
Awesome.
It's a good feeling.
And then Stephanie said, I want to have an investigation with all of you. Imagine what we could do. Right, Stephanie? That's so true.
I think we'd probably scare the spirits away.
Right?
We'd have so much energy, they'd be like, whoa.
Yeah, the spirits would be doing this to us.
Yeah, they would be scared of us. Like, whoa, man, you guys are haunting my haunt.
Right? Get out.
Right. You got too much life. I don't need this. That would be crazy.
I love it. That was great. That was so funny, Amy. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Sue said, all of us together, the earth will tremble for joy. And Shan said, would be crazy for fun stuff. Yes, it would. I agree, Shan.
It would be.
Okay, well, I guess if no one else has any other questions, Amy, are you about ready to wrap this up, or did you have anything else?
Yes. I mean, you know, I'm the type of person, I've got the gift of gab from my father. I could talk all night, but yeah, we can wrap it up.
Awesome. Okay, well, Amy, I have so enjoyed you being here. Oh my God, I'm so honored. Absolutely. Everyone, I would like to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting this new series, Divine Truth, because it is something not just dear to my heart, but I'm sure everyone that does come on as a guest and many of you that actually, take the time to watch this, that it is something that is dear to your heart as well. So I
Yes, it's
give
been
each
a
of you.
blessing. Thank you so much, Michelle. I've
Oh,
had so much fun.
oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Okay, so I love y'all so much. Amy, again, thank you. I love you. Much love all. Bye bye.
Bye.